What's up, vets? In this video, we're going to be talking about the different types of discharges, what benefits are allotted to each one, and how to upgrade certain ones. Yes, it is possible to upgrade a discharge under certain circumstances. It isn't well known. I recently learned about this, and I've been studying veteran benefits for years. This is an important video for every veteran because if you have an honorable discharge, you most likely know someone who doesn't. So you can pass this information on. Now, discharge statuses are extremely important. They can affect your ability to get jobs, loans, federal benefits, VA benefits, and security clearances. What are the different types of discharges? One is honorable. Not much has to be said about this type of discharge. You have general discharge. A general discharge means most of your service was okay, but some problems occurred, other than honorable discharge, also known as a bad paper discharge. An OTH discharge, that's equivalent to getting fired, meaning you might have gotten kicked out without a court martial. Then you have the last two, which is bad conduct discharge and dishonorable discharge. With these, court martials are usually involved and sometimes imprisonment, especially with dishonorable discharge on the civilian or military side, such as a felony and or repeat offenses, AWOL, etc. The government doesn't deem you a veteran under these conditions. That's why there are benefits that the person isn't eligible for. Now, I have quite a few comrades that fall under the last discharge status, such as I had a few buddies that pissed hot. I even know somebody that pissed hot twice. I knew a guy that punched an MP in the face. Of course, that didn't end well. When it comes to Jody letters that turn into assault or even worse. Then you have domestic charges too. I think that's one of the most avoidable charges. I've seen too many veterans get into domestic issues with their spouse. If I could go back and give those veterans advice, I would say to have a plan with your spouse when it comes to having big disagreements, such as I go to this person's house, you can stay home, and we kind of get our own space until we cool down. Also, it might be best to avoid calling the feds just because they have to write a police report, and usually when they arrive, you're at your worst. So if you have people you trust around you, like good friends or even leadership, they could come by and help diffuse the situation and, in a sense, supervise just in case anything goes wrong. My wife and I go to separate rooms in our house. It wasn't as simple when we had a one-bedroom apartment, so I used to go to the apartment complex's gym. Me and my wife have boundaries that we set and we stick to them, such as I don't call her out her name, we don't put hands on each other, and we talk about what each other isn't comfortable with that happened in previous arguments. This stuff takes work, and if it can prevent future issues, I find it worth it. Now, let me get off my soapbox and let's get back to the topic. No matter the discharge, especially the bad conduct or dishonorable discharge, you're still a veteran. You still put that uniform on and you still served. And when the government says you aren't a veteran, they're more than likely referring to the benefits aspect of it as to what's available to you. Discharges and VA disability compensation. For certain discharges that you can temporarily upgrade your status to receive VA disability benefits. In order to do this, you need other than dishonorable discharge, meaning a dishonorable discharge is excluded. Now, for this process, when you submit your claim, the VA will make an administrative decision. If the evidence doesn't exceed the VA's dishonorable discharge criteria, you'll be approved. And technically, you'll have an honorable discharge for the VA's purposes only. Now, not overall, just in the VA's eyes when it comes to disability compensation. Next, I'm going to cover how to permanently upgrade your discharge status. Now, keep in mind, you have 15 years to challenge your discharge status. Veterans who believe they received unfair or incorrect discharge can follow a process to request a discharge upgrade. The specific steps may vary, but generally the process involves the following. Eligibility criteria. Understand the eligibility criteria for a discharge upgrade. Common grounds include changes in policies, injustice, or errors in the original discharge. All branches of the military consider you to have a strong case for a discharge upgrade if you can show your discharge was connected to any of these categories. Now there's legal errors, and then there's fundamental fairness and justice. So some examples would be mental health conditions, including PTSD, TBI, sexual harassment during military service, and at the VA referred to it as military sexual trauma or MST. Then you have sexual orientation, including under the don't ask, don't tell policy, and then you have legal errors in your case. I'm going to post a link in the video description that'll cover the upgrade instructions. Next is application submission. Submit an application for discharge upgrade to the appropriate discharge review board, the DRB, or Board of Correction of Military Records, BCMR. Applications can be filled either by mail or through the assistance of a VSO or attorney. Then you have documentation, including supporting documentation such as medical records, witness statements, or any evidence that demonstrates the need for an upgrade. Then you have explanation of circumstances. Clearly articulate the reasons for the discharge upgrade, providing a compelling explanation of why the upgrade is justified. Next is highlighting connection to service. Emphasize any connection between the discharge and service-related issues, as this can strengthen the case for an upgrade. And lastly, you have legal assistance. Seek legal assistance if needed. Veterans may choose to consult with legal professionals or organizations specializing in military discharges. It may be best to talk to someone that specializes in this process, because if you are denied, you have to provide new and stronger evidence to prove your case, and this will save you time because it can take you up to a year for a decision. On the other hand, you can appeal a denial. In this case, you would have the Discharge Appeal Review Board, the DARB, to review your request. Now keep in mind, it's a long process. It roughly takes a year to get a decision. So the first time you request is usually your best opportunity. And for context, these boards, which every branch has a different board, these boards get many thousands of cases a year and is usually understaffed, meaning they have less time to review your request. So your request can be denied because of minor discrepancies or lack of sufficient evidence that the board is looking for, and sometimes requests are lost or incorrectly denied. A great resource to find services such as attorneys that specialize in upgrading discharges would be your transition centers on base. Now, they're on most military installations, and the folks that work there are there to help you connect the dots for free. Now, as a quick recap, in order to upgrade your discharge status, remember these bullet points: eligibility criteria, application submission, documentation, explanation of circumstances, highlighting connection to service, and legal assistance. If I were in this situation, I would speak with a seasoned legal representative to get an understanding of my options and to get helpful tips. Now, for the most part, my content covers VA disability compensation benefits, and this is just a bit of information. This next video will greatly increase the chances of you getting a sufficient VA rating.